Welcome to Teenagers Consult. My name is Fumlaya Akinola, and I'm welcoming you, Mr. Akolade Paul, to our show. Very, very, very important, and that's money. Everybody likes money. Okay, so today we have Mr. Akolade on the show. Is the founder and the CEO of Van, a fintech company. I'm very excited because I'm going to be discussing a very important topic, which is money, with a set of people dear to my heart, and that's teenagers. I'm happy because we're bringing something to the table that we did not have opportunity to learn about early, enough in life. Or Mr. Kolade, did you have the opportunity to learn about money earlier on in life?
I, I had to self learn a lot of things about me.
Yes, okay. You had to self learn, but there was no platform for, okay, somebody thinking it up for you and say, okay, these are things you should know about money. In fact, our parents did not even give us that opportunity. So I think that you are lucky, you are opportuned, and you are favored to have the opportunity to learn about money. Hello, Mr. Kalade.
Yes, please go ahead. Did you ask a question? Please go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is, why is it important for money for teenagers to learn about money earlier on in life? Why is it important?
Okay, thank you for that. The thing with money is money to me, I see it as the air that we breathe, and it's essential. It's like living, it's like breathing. And when parents or children don't learn about money, it's like they are learning how not to live, right? Or learning how not to breathe. And it's one of the reasons why I'm very, very passionate about talking about money. Because, growing up, for a lot of parents, what they do and they say they are giving their children the best thing is to send them to school, probably even do the best thing and send them to private schools. They create an environment for them that is ideal for their learning, right? However, they
Yeah.
they guard them off the process of understanding what lubricates or what runs the whole world. The whole world runs on money, right? Every organization, every business, everything runs on money. So money is a lubrication. Even the school that you sent your children, it runs on money, right? You have to pay money for that system to keep running. And these teachers that are teaching your students or your children are actually, they actually run on money. You have to pay payroll, you have to the school has to pay them. So it's very funny how people miss that as a key vital component of child training, or as a key vital component of child upbringing, and essential skills that children ought to know, right? They don't necessarily have to know the big things about money, but they must understand the fundamental, what money is. They must understand the terminologies of money, right? And they must understand the language of money. And they must understand how to manage, how to treat money. It's like being in a relationship with money, how to speak to money, how to talk with to money, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so that takes me to my next question. And the next question is, what are the basic terms, that teenagers should get acquainted with? Terms like budgeting, investment. Can you tell us some of these terms? Give us the definitions of, um, let us learn, about some of these terms.
Okay. Yes, so there are quite a lot of them, right? So first of all, let us even talk about what is money, right?
Okay.
So money in itself. some people will say that money is the paper, the currency, the paper that we hold, or the when you open your bank app, or the figure that you see, right? That's not really money. Money is basically value, right? Money is a means of exchange of value. Historically, right, money has been represented in different forms. Money has been represented by trade and barter. That means that I have yam and you need potato. So we exchange some pieces of yam for the pieces of potato. And by doing such, right, a transaction has occurred. Do you get? So that
Yes.
understanding of that transaction is money, because it's value that was exchanged. So our money is a transient value, is a store of value, which is used to store value. So, and it has moved on from trade and barter to stones. At some point, stones were used. At some point, cowries were used. Right. At some point, even leather, animal skin were used. Till we now have coins. Right. Then we had gold, we had silver, we had bronze. Till we now have paper, digital paper currency. Right. And now
Yes.
we now also have digital currency in the likes of Bitcoin and all of that. So everything is just is a form of store
Installment.
of value, right? Yes. So that is talking about money, right? So once children are able to understand that money is a store of value, and then they can then know that money means that if they are wealthy, it is for them to continue to build up their store of value, right? Till it materializes in terms of the physical currency. Then the other thing also is to understand what is assets and liabilities, right? Because when we talk about wealth building, we talk about money, we have to understand that the simplest things is they are comprised into assets and liabilities, right? Even for
Okay.
businesses or even for family, for everything we purchase, for every transaction we do with money, it is either we are generating assets or we are generating liabilities, or it is either that we are paying off on assets, or we are paying off on liabilities, right? So for example, assets will be things that you do, right, or things that you acquire that are income generating for you, right? Assets are things that appreciate over time and that also generate an income for you. So, for example, a land is an asset. And
Okay.
a land appreciates over time, and it's also what it will generate. As it appreciates, it keeps generating a store value of money for you in such a way that if you buy a land for 1,000 naira today, in 3 years you can then sell that same land for 5,000 naira, right? So that means that and you probably don't have to continue to incur money while the land in that period of time, right? So that means that whatever amount of money that you spent acquiring the land, you would probably do 300 times that value of money when you are selling it out. So that's an asset, right? So a liability can be different things, right? So there are some things that are both assets and they are both liabilities. For example, talking about land, when you have a land and you build a house on the land, right? Though the land is an asset, the house is a liability, right? So
Mm.
people don't understand that. So a liability, in a simple term, is something that takes money out of you, that continues to take money out of you, right? So we have to understand that yes, a house is a beautiful thing to own, but it is still what it is. It is a liability because the house will continue to depreciate, right? A building does not appreciate, a building depreciates, right? And it will continue to take money out of your pockets in terms of maintenance, right, in terms of repairs and all of that, right? So, and even in terms of taxes, because even in Nigeria now, their government is starting to require taxes and then dues for you owning buildings, right? However, that same building can also be an asset. I said that there are some things that are both assets and liabilities. A building can also be an asset. So, for example, if you build a house and you are the only one living in that house, right, and you don't earn an income from living in that house, it is a liability. But you can also convert that liability to some level of assets if that when you build a house, that house at the same time is also generating revenue for you. Probably in that house, maybe you rented a room out of it out, or maybe you now have an apartment that you built separately to for renting, and then you are earning, recurring revenue through rent, right? So it has started to generate assets. So so you can see that the terms of money, as it progresses or it advances, is at its foundation is about assets and about liabilities. Um, so let me just add maybe one or two things. Another thing also that the children might want to know is income and outflow, right? Or inflow and outflow. Income or inflow is when you you have when money flows into you, or that means when you collect or receive money, right? So that's an inflow, right? And an outflow is when you pay for goods and services, that when money goes out through into things that are needed, or things that are needed to be sorted, right? So that is outflow. And so those two things together is comes together to what we call cash flow, right? There are things like you must have, even some of the teenagers would have heard about cash flow. There is a popular book about cash flow called the Cash Flow Quadrant that was written by Robert Kiyosaki,
Robert
right? It's
Kiyosaki,
basically
yes.
exactly. So it's just basically just talking about how you manage money inflow into money inflow for yourself and money outflow. So I don't know if you want me to talk about more terms, but um, uh, I just wanted to share just a brief about that and its
Thank
foundation
you
there.
very much. Thank you. These are the basics, okay? And I
Yeah.
have personally learned, from the liability and the assets. Thank you very much. So I move to my next question, and that is, what are the common money mistakes that teenagers make? I know some of them feel, oh, I'm still young. I'm not thinking about money now. What are these common money mistakes, and how can it be avoided?
Okay, thank you for that question. Sincerely, there's a lot of money mistakes that teenagers make, that even adults make, right? I think that the first thing, money mistake will be that I'm too young and I don't need to learn about money, right? That is a myth and that is a lie that must be totally, pushed back, right? So I think I would give anything to go back in my years and learn what I know now. Understand? So I've learned it far earlier, right? So that all the money, some monies some funds or money that I've made, had maybe converted them into assets way earlier and all like that, right? So it's never too early to learn it, and the better a child learns it, the better for them. So another thing also is the fact that for that when money comes into to me, I just need to spend it, right? You
Mm,
see, teenagers in our teenage years, we receive a lot of gifts, right?
yeah.
People come, uncles give us money, aunties give us money. Christmas is around the corner. You go to to family members and all of that for holidays. They give you money, and the next thing you are thinking is, you want to play, you want to buy a game, you want to do this, you want to do that. Every child is just thinking about spending money, right? They don't understand the concept. They're just thinking, I have money, I have to spend it, and all
Yes,
of
it's
that.
just
So children need to understand that every money that comes to you is not for spending, right? And I'm not saying that you should not spend money, because these are children, these are teenagers, right? So I'm not saying telling them to go and start living like a monk and deny themselves and not see good things that they probably need or desire and should not go for it. But what I'm saying is that there should be a very strong balance, right? In that there should be, yeah, an understanding that money needs to be built, and money that comes to you is something you need to hold. So, for example, children need, when money comes to them, they need to save that money. You see, saving is as old as saving is, probably saving money will be as old as from the day the idea of money, the concept of money was conceived, right? But saving is still the fundamental tool to breaking out of poverty, and people don't get it. So uh you must save. There is no excuse. You must save, and you must take your savings and then convert them to assets, generating stuff for you. So as kids, when people give you money, and for some of us when we're young, we had this savings box called Kolo, right?
Yes.
So let me give you a gist bar. So when I was young, um, I was very resilient, right? That means that I'm very creative. So I would get money from different people, and then I had money I was always searching in my colo and all of that. But I would always go and break the colo. Do you understand? So I would always go and break it. So I had the clay colo, I broke it. I had the wooden colo, I broke it. Whenever I wanted I would just go and find a way around it, right? So
Follow.
don't be like me when I was young. Don't be breaking every form of colo and be finding ways to break it and just take the money. Keep that colo. Let the money increase. Do you understand? Let the money be full inside, right? So when that money is full, right, things that you can do with money, you understand, are things that you can then even probably even help your parents out with their needs for things that they need to do. I mean, your parents will really love you for doing that. You understand? Or you can also then tell your parents to, oh, I want to open a bank account. There is nothing stopping you from opening a bank account. Your parents can help you open it in your name, or parents, you can open bank accounts in your own name for your children, right? Or even in their own name if they can get a BVN or a NIN, right? Open the bank account in their name and start putting money there for them. And after a while, when that money grows, you can open investment accounts for them and start putting those money there. And you can also go further. When the money also goes, you can also add to the money those kids have received, and also buy assets, like maybe buy land, a plot of land, or a half plot of land, or even a quarter plot of land. Just buy something. Do you understand? And hold it down in that child's name. By the time the child is 18, 20 years old, and the child, you need to, maybe the child needs to, you now say, okay, I want you to go and study abroad, or you finish your university here, go and do your masters, or just relocate. It's just a matter of selling one plot of land, and at that time they are selling for maybe some millions of naira. Do you understand? And it's easy to sponsor that kind of lifestyle. Do you get me? So it's those so that some of the attitudes that needs to be built early in children, right? And another thing also that needs to be built early is denial, right? That means, or self-control, right? Children needs to deny themselves. We have to train our children to deny themselves. It's not everything your child wants, right? That must be gotten for them. And what that means is that if they're able to learn how to deny themselves, they will know that they should not take money and spend it as it comes. And this thing, though it doesn't look like a money character, but it is, right? Self-denial. Because our use of money is born out of our own, how should I call it now, is born out of our character or our tendencies, what we are prone to, right? So if we don't have self-control or delayed gratification or denial, we will look at every shiny thing, the next biscuit, the next game, the next shoe, the next clothes, the next bag, the next this, and we keep on acquiring and acquiring. And I can tell you, when you look back 5 years when 5 years in the future and you look back, that thing that you've gotten is probably not even useful anymore. You have outgrown it, you are not even needing it again, and all of that. So, and I'm not saying that you should not buy good things for children, right? Buy good things, but I'm saying that make it an habit not to excessively buy, right? So if you eat and put it on intermittent things, right? And it helps those children to build self-control and contentment, right? That they can use. Then the other thing, money myths I'll probably like to talk about is the fact that maybe a child cannot start, maybe financial education maybe a child is too young to start learning about money in terms of real financial education. And I think that would be very wrong, right? That's a myth, because if all over the world we now have children starting businesses, right? We have seen some children starting businesses that they came up with the idea and their parents supported them to start the business, right? I've had cases, although these are some cases in US or UK. I've seen cases where some children had business ideas, they started something and their parents supported them, and the parents had to even quit their own jobs to now work full time in the companies that their children started, right? Because, and those children learned those things. They were inspired by their parents, by their resolve, and by the actions their parents were carrying out. And the children were given the right environment to foster that kind of culture, right? That kind of idea. Some of our children may have ideas to start something, a business, even in school, or to do something, but they'll be like, if my parents here, if my mommy here, if my daddy here, they know that there is not going to be any form of support for them, and that in itself can be quite scary for the children, right? And they will feel like there is no encouragement for them to do something like that. So these children are also in terms of the financial education, the same way that we read storybooks for our children, we should start reading finance books to them, right? Like these bedtime stories, right? There is nothing stopping us from getting finance books for kids and reading it to them, reading stories about money, to them, so that they can start understanding, right? All of these things, it becomes an integral part of them. So yeah, let me hold the talk there for now.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. While you were even talking, my next question was actually supposed to be on differentiating between wants and needs, because teenagers love to spend a lot. But in your answer, you have actually differentiated it. That which is very important, that you should get. Don't buy things impulsively. I think in economics, one of the topics that was treated is using your scale of preference. Things that you want, separating it from wants, and the like. So thank you very much. God bless you. Now, in answering your last question, you talked about starting up business earlier on in life, and so for teenagers that don't have parents that are supportive in quotes, and they want to start out on their own, how can they start out? Let me put it that way. They are on their
Okay,
own
so
now. You
sincerely,
said
Bar,
you said you have
yeah,
learned financial literacy. So how can they
yeah.
start out on their own?
Okay, so sincerely, you see, there is no, how should I put the word? There is no generation as lucky as this current generation, right?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because information is so accessible. Growing up, there was no mobile phone, right? We know
Yes.
when mobile phone came, right? When my dad bought his first mobile phone, I could not even go and touch it. SIM card, as at then, SIM card was probably around 30 something, 50,000. The
30
phone
something
itself
thousand.
was
Yes.
around 100 and something thousand. And that was many years ago, around 1990 something. Do you understand now? So, and those are, that 30 something thousand is probably the price of a land. Do you understand? So, so information access was very, very, was inaccessible. Like, except you have to go to a library or a bookshop, and the only place we knew how to access information was either on TV and all of that, right? And not even everybody had access to TV. So yeah, so what I'm saying in short is that one of the things that helped me, and I'll relate it to children of now, is number one, I was privileged to have access to cable TV at a very young age, and I watched a lot of CNN, money shows, and stuff like that. So it sort of like got my fancy interested, right? So I started understanding some of these terms early enough. Then another thing that also exposed me was the fact that I had some people in my family that did businesses. So I have heard them saying that they got a contract, they did this, they did that. So those words were familiar to me. That, oh, okay, someone is working somewhere, but it's not like he's working. he's working and he has employees and stuff like that, right? So one of the things children can also do is, number one, look at their family members. There must be someone in their family that is running a business. They can ask questions, right? There must be someone in their church that runs a business, right? There must be someone in their locale that runs a business that they can ask questions from. That's one, right? And that is like building mentorship, right? Then there's also the access to information in terms of the digital age, which is there's YouTube, there is Google searches, there's social media platforms, and they can actually learn all of these courses on YouTube, right? Like they can literally learn about money, how to make money, how to save money, the tools to use, a whole lot of stuff like that, right? That information is readily accessible. For me, one of the other things that helped me was that right when I got out of secondary school, I worked in a library. So I went and got a job in a library, right? We used to call it summer job. So when I got a job in that library, I was privileged to see tons of book. All I was doing was reading books. You know, at that time, I read Bill Gates book on I think the digital age. I think is it yeah, something about digital age. I read about Think and Grow Rich. I read about the wise man in Babylon. So I read quite a lot of books. Do you understand? Yeah, the Bill Gates book is a Think at the Speed of Light or something. Think at the speed of technology or the speed of light or something like that. So I read books about even this guy, Trump now, Donald Trump, right? Think like a billionaire. So I was able to read a lot of books. Some of those concepts is not like I totally got them, but it really opened my mind up to start knowing that I had to, defer things, right, and stuff like that. So for kids, like I said, they can get a mentor. That's number one thing. Like even Robert Kiyosaki himself did. He got a mentor, right? His rich uncle was a mentor that that he took that helped him, right? And he also started reading, so he started learning, but it took him time. So for as kids, learn online, right? And I don't think that there's any parent that you tell that I want to read about, and there are now content, money books or money videos that teaches kids on money online that they can see, right? Then the other thing also is by practice. For example, let's say you have an idea as a teenager and you want to start out that business, right? I think the first thing is to understand that business, try to learn about the business. There must be someone, there's a old tool that is very common among the Igbos. It's called apprenticeship, right? Where so in summer holidays you can you as a teenager you can go and learn under someone that is doing that thing, just to see the processes and how it is, right? So, and as parents, when your child says, oh, I have an idea for a business and all of that, just encourage them. Even if they don't start it now, encourage them in the process of research, in the process of finding out, in the process of understanding, because that will not be the only idea they will ever come up with. But what you would have helped them is that you would have helped them to understand how the know-how, or how to go about starting such things, right? And if you are like a teenager, or maybe you are in your late teens, maybe you're in secondary school, or you're even in early university, one of the things is that even in school, depending on the policy or the type of school that you go to, we've had teenagers who just sell basic things in school, like maybe uh, they sell what is it called now? Uh, they
Perfume
sell
or
maybe skits, a
biscuit,
whole lot of stuff like that. We've had students selling even cardboards, pencils,
A4
you
paper
know,
for assignments.
exactly, right? So you will see that most people who don't get is that they think that those students selling those things because their parents are poor, they can't fend for them. No, it is a critical thing. Selling is a skill. I have gone to many selling classes and I'm still learning how to sell. Anytime I approach someone and I speak about an idea, I am selling something to them. I am still iterating. So imagine if I've learned how to sell at a very young age, right? How I would have perfected my selling skills. So, all of those things are things that would help them get started, right? So there's nothing delaying you to start, right? Even if it is your pocket money or something that someone gave you. If it is for you to sell a biscuit of 15 naira and make 10 naira on it, and go and buy that same biscuit and sell it again the next day and then make another extra 10 naira, that's 20 naira. It is just it is the culture. It is that culture that must be built. It is that culture.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very, very insightful and impactful. God bless you, Sam. Then back to my next question is, why is it important for teenagers to, can you hear me, Mr. Kolade?
Yes, go ahead, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, thank you. So why is it important for teenagers to learn how to give? We've been talking about business, selling, investment, everything about money. There's no way we're going to talk about money without talking about the giving aspect. Why is it important for teenagers to learn this earlier on in life?
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, so I mean, as people of faith, right, and believers, we understand, even it's a general principle in life, right, that what you give to the universe, or what you give to the world, comes back in one way to you, right? We've also learned that it is better to give than to receive, and all of that. So I, I think that even companies understand the fact that giving is important, and that's why they do something called CSR, corporate social responsibility, and they give back to their communities and all of that. So, one of the key things that giving does in our minds, it does to us, is to enact compassion and empathy, right? Giving helps develop compassion better, and it helps us to relate with other people better. So for me, I want to sum up one of the most important reasons to give is that if you want to be a business owner and you've learned to give and you've learned to develop compassion, you would at some day you'll be able to create a global problem. Sorry, you'll be able to solve a global problem because you would have been able to position your heart and your mind to feel the plight of other people. And so business is basically just saying that there is a problem, and I understand that that problem is a pain point to people, and I feel their plight, and I've decided to go and find a solution to it. But if you are the type of person that you don't want to give, you understand, how will you go and give your time to solve other people's problem? That's what business is. You are taking your own time to go and solve other people's problem, but a problem that probably they didn't even send you to solve, right? So giving means that you are at the service of others, right? And that is what the foundation of business is, being at the service of others, ministering, or onto the needs of other people, right? The difference in that in business is that you are only doing it at a fee. You get, you are getting it, you are getting those things done at a fee. Meanwhile, maybe in ministry, it's not, there is no fee attached to it per se. Do you get what I mean? So giving is quite important, and it's a culture that must be fostered. It helps build commitment, right? Even to with others, right? It helps remove greed and selfishness too in children, right? When they give, there's because we are speaking to teenagers and children. There's this song that children as know. It says, can give me, they will say no, then you sing this song, can you share, can you share, please, okay. Caring is sharing it for everyone, something like that. So it's a lullaby that instills the culture of giving and sharing with others. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've never heard somebody talk about giving in this light, bringing it will help you as a business owner, and it will help you to imbibe the culture of compassion and empathy. Thank you very much, Mr. Kolade. So, my last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self? Now you have a better understanding of money, you have a better understanding of life. So, if you were to be a teenager again and you were talking to your younger self, give us your last words. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay. That's a big one, right? So a while back, I think maybe I was 17, 18 years old. I like I said, I watch news and stuff like that. So I was watching the news, and I saw a that was not my first time, I guess, but I then saw an advert by Zenith Bank, right? That Zenith Bank was offering shares then. They were selling public shares and stuff like that. And I just told my dad, and I want to encourage a lot of teenagers to do that, right? And I just woke up and I told my dad, I said, I want a gift. And he said, what? I said, I want to buy, I want equity shares in Zenith Bank. And I was like, really? Uh, I sort of pestered him and he said, okay. And I wasn't 18 years old then because I couldn't have a bank account. I couldn't have anything, right? But my dad believed me that I wanted it so bad. And he took me to the bank and he told them, my son wants shares in Zenith, right? And we arranged everything and I got some shares in Zenith, right? That's how I was able to have share equity in. I mean, of course, when we talk about, like, I was able to become a shareholder in terms of public offering that Zenith Bank offered, and I owned the share. And it gave me a leverage to even keep adding that up, and that was many years back, right? So what am I saying? I just started with that story because if God helped me and I could do that at that young age, there's nothing stopping you from doing that now.
Yeah.
So, for example, FCMB is offering their public shares. Zenith Bank is still currently offering their public shares. Fidelity did their own a while back because there's an opportunity. The CBN there's a policy for recapitalization for financial institutions, right? So all of them are raising money from the public. So it's an opportunity to buy shares for your children, right? It's a big opportunity right now. And as children that you are listening, you can get your parents to buy shares for you. It's not too early for you to own a portion of a big corporation, no matter how small. Even if it's 500 unit of shares, own something, right? Own something. So now, to my young self, I would have told my young self to have started business way earlier, to have learned how to sell on the street, streetwise, right? In business, there's something called streetwise, and it is very important. As much as you are brilliant, you know the books and stuff like that, you must just learn the culture of the street. Do you get? So that's in combination because learning business, money management has a lot of components to it, right? So you just don't have to be bookish in your head. Learn the streetwise, right? Another thing I would have told myself is execution. Right now, I'm an avid for execution. Right, I have a strong affinity for execution. But I would have wanted myself to have learned execution way earlier, right? And what is the execution? It's basically getting things done. Like, see, I think there was a place I spoke and I said that you don't get rewarded for things you don't do. Get things done. Get things done. So, and as parents, we need to inculcate in our children the ability to reward doing. So we don't just, there was a time they say, thinkers rule the world, thinkers rule the world. Yes, thinkers rule the world, the ideas rule the world. But now it is doers that rule
Well,
the world. Go and check in
yes.
politics, it's doers that are doers. You understand? In leadership, it's doers, right? People don't, you can't just sit down and be thinking and not do anything. You have to do, right? And one of the things I've also learned is that, which I would have loved my younger self to have done way earlier, was to do difficult things.
Hmm.
Do difficult things. It is the difficult things that I've done and I'm doing that has caused me to grow exponentially. Has caused me to grow exponentially, right? Right now, when I think about the growth, right, in the last 7 8 years, the level of growth I have gotten professionally, and in terms of the capacity of management, the capacity of resource or depth, it is because I decided to do difficult things, and it's something that I would have loved to have started way earlier. Children learn to do difficult things. Because something is difficult doesn't mean it is impossible. It's when something is difficult, it only means you don't understand it yet. What you need to get is understanding. What it is as simple as that. What you need to get is understanding. And so if you can commit time to go and get the knowledge to understand that difficult thing, you would be able to execute and do it. It is extremely important. I don't know if to beg you in the name of God or to something. Learn to execute. Parents, teach your children to
Please,
execute. It will
we are
save them a
begging
whole
you.
lot of stress in the future. Right? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kola.
So I think maybe,
Thank you.
yeah,
So, dear young
yeah,
adults that you, I'm very, very sure because I have learned. I've learned a lot. And I know that you have learned. He mentioned that doers now rule the world. So I'll be very happy if you can start doing all that you have learned, from this episode. The purpose or what brought about this vision is so that you can learn earlier on in life what I started learning late. So please, Mr. Kolade has begged, I'm begging you to kindly start doing all this. If you are parents listening to us, please start teaching your teenagers, your young adults, even children, financial literacy. I remember Money Africa for children. You can download it even for your toddlers too. Let them just start hearing it. Start hearing it. Let them start hearing it. And with time, they will get used to it. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Mr. Paul Akolade, thank you so much. If you want to reach out to him, you can check him up on LinkedIn. He's the CEO and the founder of Vant, and he's helping and empowering lots of small and medium scale businesses. You want to get any advice or from him, kindly reach out to him on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that it will be worth your time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on today's episode of Teenagers Consult. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much for having. All
Okay.
right, take care then. Bye bye.
Bye, sir.